Like most Hawaiian children growing up in Hawaii, there's only one way possibly that you're taught to swim. And that is your father, your older brother, some male member of your family picks you up by the back of your neck and your shorts, and they throw you into the ocean. That's how you learn. Same thing happened for me with my Hanai sister Chobi, her first husband. He did that all the time, especially at Sand Island. Pick me up, throw me in the water. How many times I didn't surface, almost drowned, and I'd feel his big meaty hands grab me by my hair and pull me out and throw me back in again. One time, out at Sand Island, when he did that for the millionth time, I remember going under, and I remember the water being calm and not rough the way it was back then. And I remember seeing a massive tiger shark just swimming around. Of course, at my age, I didn't even know what that was. And I remember it looking at me, just pausing in the water long enough just to look at me. And then it was gone. At that age, you don't realize what hōʻailona means. But that's what it was. Hōʻailona, a sign. Shortly after that, I got woefully sick, and I was put in Children's Hospital on Kuahiwi. And I had to go and get my kidneys cleaned out. And I remember how horrible the experience was. Being bound to these things behind my arms and the IV and the blood transfusion and the whole thing and throwing up. Horrible, horrible experience. And I remember it happening in the morning after eating breakfast, and I couldn't understand. And for as much as I tried not to cry, I did. And I remember blackness, and I remember going under. And I remember waking up in my hospital bed in this huge ward with other kids in their beds, just like me. During that time, some kids got to go home. Some kids didn't. Some kids were there one day and gone the next. It was a very strange, traumatic experience. I made a friend. His name was Scotty Boyd. He died right next to me. And then his ghost came to my bed and wanted to play. And I remembered my Hanai grandmother yelling at me, scolding me not to get off the bed. Because if I did, if my feet touched the floor and I went to go play, I would not come back. Not as a human anyway. There was tension when my Hanai parents would come to visit me. And I could see it in their body language, tell it by the look on their faces and the tone in their voice. When I was finally out and taking the long ride back from Kuahiwi all the way to Kaukamana Street in Maili, I remember getting sick in the car and throwing up. I didn't realize it was motion sickness, trying to read a comic book and watching as the car is driving with things moving by. I remember my Hanai father getting upset, and his anger got the best of him. And he said to my Hanai mother, "That's why he's not my son. He's weak. He's lepo. He's mumu, crippled." And that's when he told me, "You know that Freddie Cordero, he's a good basketball player. Same age as you, that kid, but probably more better than you." I remember going home and never playing basketball again. The other thing is, when I got home, I was in my robe and pajamas and still very weak. I remember everybody being excited and running in the house and completely forgetting about me. And so I let myself out of the back seat and holding on to the car as I'm walking, legs weak, and then grabbing onto the railing and holding on to that. Just before my Hanai brothers and everybody else came out to get me, Freddie Cordero appeared out of nowhere and punched me in my kidneys. I remember collapsing on the steps, too weak to cry. I think it was my brother Blue who went after Ferdy Cadero and just beat the holy hell out of him. They made it into the house. Wasn't too badly affected. The triumph in all of this was the fatsera that finally had to come, because strange things were happening in the house, not only to me, but I would find out later on to my Hanai brothers. In their dreams, the fatsera was sitting in the bed with them. Not the one that the family knew, but an old, haggard one, ugly, teeth missing, horrid breath. And their sharp fingernails would just slightly go like this on their face while they're sleeping, and they'd wake up with these scratches on their cheeks. My Hanai parents were also being bothered by the fatsera as well. In Portuguese, in my Hanai mother's dream, the fatsera would tell her, "You're going to remain barren. Don't think about having any more kids. Because if you do, they all gonna die. All gonna make. You take out one you get. That's why." In my father's nightmares, I would overhear him telling my Hanai mother, "Oh, the dream I had, hon, I tell you, the fatsera, the one from Hilo, the one, I never liked marrying her daughter. Oh, she come inside my dream and she's scratching me all over my body." And in the morning, my Hanai father would have scratches all over. The fatsera that we knew had to come to the house because things were happening to me. Things grabbing me at night, poking me from under the bed. She came to the house, and she's the one who determined that there were 4 Hawaiian people buried under the house who were mad at my Hanai father, having to listen to him tell me that I'm adopted, not his son, not wanted, and that he had to change his ways. And he did, for a little while. But then it went right back. If you don't like it, go live with your Hawaiian family. They're just like the Indians, all poor, all lepo. Go live with them. The reason my father was like that is because they had lost a son before they adopted me. And that he felt like perhaps my Hanai mother was trying to replace their son with me. Sometimes our parents were people too, who are human beings, just like we are, even though we never see them that way. Sometimes they don't have those tools to be affectionate, to tell us they love us, or even to say they're sorry. Sometimes we never get that from them for our entire lives. But once we realize that they didn't know how, they didn't have what they needed during their time, it's not their fault. And that's how we triumph. And we live on. And we let it go. And we become able to tell a story like this one.